Yo, I'm Jovan Buha, Lakers beat writer for The Athletic, and welcome to another Lakers postgame reaction show. I just got back from Crypto.com Arena, where the Lakers beat the Philadelphia 76ers 101-94. LA improves to 38-32. They hit the 70-game mark, and they're now 1.5 games above the Golden State Warriors. The Warriors lost tonight to the Indiana Pacers, the Lakers' next opponent, so that is going to be a big game on Sunday for LA. But Warriors dropped to 36-33, so LA is 2 games up on the win column, 1 game up on the loss column, and this was a big win for LA. It was pretty ugly, and that's not my take on it. That was LeBron's take. That was the first words out of his mouth when asked to assess the game. It was a very ugly win for LA. They end up, again, only scoring 101 points, which is like scoring 80 points basically in the modern NBA in 2024. But they hold the Sixers to just 94 points. And I went back through the Lakers schedule, and I was just curious, like, when was the last time they held a team to 94 points or fewer? And I kept scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and there was all these double-digit scores for months and months and months. And I finally got to December 7th when the Lakers crushed the Pelicans 133-89 in the in-season tournament semifinals in Las Vegas. And so 89 points on December 7th was the last time the Lakers held an opponent to this few of points, and that was over 3.5 months ago. We are on March 22nd, about to be March 23rd by the time you're watching this, and December 7th was over 3.5 months ago. So like that just shows how the Lakers' identity has evolved throughout the season. Or that first month and a half to 2 months of the season, they were a defense first team. There was the infamous all wing lineup, and they trended more defensively and really struggled on the offensive end. And then since the new year, it's been the exact opposite, with this group in the top 10 in offense and in the bottom 5 in defense. So they had not had a win like this in quite a while. But I want to dig into that with my first takeaway. So let's get into it. I have a quick plug. If you have not checked out episode 6 of Buha's Block, it dropped Friday afternoon, kind of lunchtime, with Chris Herring of ESPN. Chris is one of my favorite basketball people. To me, one of the best people in the business covering the game. He's fair, he's objective, and I thought we had a great conversation about the Lakers' potential play-in path, what it would look like in the playoffs against Denver and OKC, and then the state of LeBron and AD in 2024 in terms of a championship duo and the foundation of a team, and then looking ahead toward this summer, and then looking ahead toward this summer. And if you're the Lakers, do you want to prioritize upgrading the role players, or do you want to go for the 3-star build? And then breaking down the pros and cons of LeBron's extension / re-signing and what that would mean for the Lakers' future. So if you haven't checked it out yet, please do so after you finish watching this video. All right, so takeaway number 1 for me is the Lakers grind out a defensive win for the first time in a while. And obviously the Pelicans win wasn't the last defensive-minded win that they've had, but with the offensive explosion that has happened across the NBA, most teams kind of walk into 105 to 110 points a night at a minimum, and oftentimes the scores are higher than that. And it goes without saying that the Philadelphia 76ers without Joel Embiid are a much different team. They are much worse, and this wasn't a great win for the Lakers. Like, everyone at this point is a great win from the perspective of every win really matters. Every game is a must win. And you could look at it as like a win is a win. I try to look at it a little bit more through the lens of like, what does this mean for this team's ability to go on a run in the playoffs, like to match up with different teams. And on the one hand, there were some things I was a bit concerned with. I thought the Lakers coming out of having 3 days to prepare for this matchup and for this game, they came out a mix of like apathetic and lethargic at times. They were throwing the ball all over the place. Like, LeBron was the biggest culprit. He had 8 turnovers and just 6 assists. It's rare to see LeBron. He'll have some high turnover games, and that just kind of comes with it, especially year 21, age 39. But it's rare to see LeBron have more turnovers than assists in a game. And I just thought tonight, like, he finished, his line was fine, 20 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. But to me, his energy level at times, at least on the offensive end, and really not just maybe more like focus and just his control over the offense and control over the game. It reminded me of that Sacramento loss, a week and a half ago, whenever it was. And I thought LeBron really set the tone in a negative way for this group. And you just talked about it after the Atlanta game, that he came out with a purpose and was attacking the rim and putting pressure on the Hawks, and did a lot of that in the Golden State game as well, especially in the second half, in the fourth quarter. But tonight, I thought just didn't have it offensively for the most part. Turned it on a little bit in the second half and in the fourth, and helped distance the Lakers. That 3 that he made basically iced the game late in the fourth. But I thought LeBron, again, the turnovers, like looking at, the Lakers had 21 turnovers, and that led to, I'm trying to find it, 27 points for the Sixers, which is just, like, that's the reason this game was close. Because if you look at, and this is where I want to give the Lakers, like, on the one hand, again, I thought, like, this version of Philly is just not a good team. If you played a full season with this group, this is probably like a team on the tier of a Chicago, Atlanta, maybe like a borderline playing team. So from that perspective, barely beating this team when you had 3 days to prepare for them, I'm not going to like give the Lakers too much credit on that front. Like I thought in some ways this was kind of an embarrassing game for them. At the same time, and then the second part of that is, I do think Tyrese Maxey, though he did finish 10 of 26, like he was just getting by any and everyone on the perimeter for the most part. Did miss a lot of contested shots. The Lakers were doing a good job of rotating over against him, showing him bodies, having multiple guys in the paint. But I thought he got a lot of good looks that he just missed. And for the most part, Philly, Kelly Oubre 6 of 18. Like if Kelly Oubre is taking 18 shots, like that's just too many. Tobias Harris was also 6 of 18. I thought he got a bunch of good looks. He's been a shell of himself since Joel Embiid's injury. So like part of this to me was just like Philly is not a good team, and they had guys slotted, and like Tyrese Maxey is the number 2, acting as the number 1. Tobias Harris is like probably a number 4 who's now been slotted as like a number 2. Although Kelly Oubre is fighting him for that role. So roundabout way of just saying, like, there were some things to be discouraged by. Again, this game being as close as it was, given the level of competition, given the Lakers having 3 days of rest, 3 days of prep. And there were just times they looked disorganized. There were times they didn't look prepared, particularly on the defensive end in that first half, in that second quarter, and at various points, really through the first 3 quarters, because Philly was leading entering the fourth. But then the Lakers really turned it on in the fourth quarter. They held Philly to just 18 points. Overall, Philly shot 34.4%, only made 8 of 37 threes, so 21.6%. And got to the free throw line 24 times, made 20. So the Lakers did foul a lot in this game, and they were very frustrated with the officiating. But the Lakers won this game at the free throw line, and they won this game beyond the arc, making 12 of 31 threes, because looking at some of the numbers, Philly outscored the Lakers in the paint. They outscored them in second chance points. They outscored them in fast break points. And like those are typically swing stats that really determine the Lakers' success. Like the Lakers typically win the points in the paint battle, right? Second chance points, when they lose that, that's typically a sign that they're not rebounding the ball well, and that a team is getting putbacks or kick out threes, and that's usually a sign that the Lakers defense isn't engaged or is just at a size disadvantage. And then again, fast break points, transition defense, that's a level of urgency and effort. So from that perspective, the Lakers, looking at some of these numbers, like probably should have lost this game. And then again, you look at the turnovers, but then you look at the 3-point battle, plus 4 on threes. So that's plus 12 at the 3-point line, and then plus 5 in terms of free throw makes. So that kind of balances out some of those categories. This was a solid jump shooting game for the Lakers overall. But I thought Anthony Davis is going to get a lot of credit, as he should. He's the backbone of the Lakers defense. He is the anchor, and he did have 4 blocks. He had a couple of blocks late in the fourth that helped the Lakers seal the game. But I want to I want to acknowledge the defense of both Spencer Dinwiddie and Cam Reddish, who made his return. Cam has been in and out of the lineup, missed the last few games. But Spencer Dinwiddie, to me, did the best job against Tyrese Maxey. And Spencer has, again, I've talked about this, like watching his film in Brooklyn, there was this whole thing about him being checked out and him quiet quitting and all this stuff. And I can't really speak to that. I could just speak to what I saw on film. And offensively, the Nets were relying on him in ways that he was probably overtasked in terms of his ISO and shot creation stuff and the different ways that they were relying on him. But defensively, you saw his physical tools in terms of just being this 6'6" athlete with good speed and athleticism in comparison to some of the point guards that he was defending and some of the wings that he was defending. But not always there in terms of the effort and the focus and really just trying. So I wasn't sure what to expect defensively. Like I don't think he's historically been a plus defender in his career, but joining the Lakers, and he talked about earlier in the week that the Reggie Bullock role and basically being a 3-and-D guy, and like his job offensively is just to make catch and shoot threes and defend his ass off 94 feet. And like I thought he did that tonight. He had 11 points, his Laker high, made 3 threes, and then defended his ass off and did a really good job chasing Tyrese Maxey around screens, sticking with him on drives, poking at the ball at a couple nice, like not strips, but sort of like deflections on the way up, just making Maxey have to kind of alter his shot on the way up. So I thought Spencer defended him the best, but Cam also did a really good job against him. I think Cam, was out of rhythm offensively, and that's to be expected. Like missed a couple of open threes, and then I thought his screen navigation could have been a little bit better, particularly on the ball. But even off the ball, got lost a couple times, and part of that's just a rhythm thing for him. But when he was actually on Maxey, and it was more of like an ISO situation or Maxey trying to drive on Cam, I thought Cam did a really good job. And there was no Taurean Prince in this game, so Cam ended up playing basically just assuming Taurean's minutes and role, playing a bit of small ball 4. But I thought you saw having a more defensive-minded guy back in the rotation, and the Lakers have been down Cam and Jared and Gabe, and having one of those guys back, and I think it just kind of tilted the Lakers defense slightly more positively on the perimeter. And with the job that Spencer's been doing off the bench, Max Christie getting some minutes, I thought he did a good job of chasing Buddy Hield around screens and sticking with him. And then having Cam Reddish, like you had 3+ perimeter guys coming off the bench defensively, and each guy, playing different shifts together, and then having Anthony Davis in the middle, and LeBron, I thought, had some good moments defensively. So overall, this was a pretty impressive defensive performance from LA. And again, holding a team to 94 points in 2024 is impressive enough. I know, again, no Embiid, and Philly is relatively limited offensively. They shot the ball very poorly tonight, but the Lakers had not had this type of gritty, gutsy, ugly, in the mud win in maybe months. And certainly, again, like they've had stretches of like a fourth quarter or an overtime or just a crunch time where they can lock in and they can play this way, but they played this way for most of the game. And it was almost antithetical to the way that they've been playing for going on almost 3 months now since the turn of the new year. So this was like a throwback game for the Lakers in terms of their defensive performance. And it was encouraging in many regards. Again, given the level of the competition and some of the shots that Philly made, I thought they still were able to generate high percentage looks and just miss them given some of the limitations of their personnel. But overall, like I think you got to give the Lakers credit with some of the perimeter defense we saw from Cam and Spencer and Max, and then some of the engagement from LeBron and Jackson defensively, just being active in the paint And then, of course, Anthony Davis being Anthony Davis. So this to me was the best defensive performance in quite a while. I really can't tell you the last time I felt like the Lakers, and that is a positive sign with this group, again, being a bottom 5 defense now for the last 2+ months. They're going to have more of these types of performances to actually go on a run. And this is a step in the right direction. Takeaway number 2 is D'Angelo Russell officially has the record for most 3-pointers made in a single season in Lakers history. He surpassed Nick Van Axel, who had made 183. It was one of the longest standing records. And I think it might have been the longest standing team or franchise 3-point record in the NBA. So it had been 30 years, and D'Lo, it's a matter of time till he broke it. We knew he was going to break it, once they got to a certain point, but like he broke it in the first quarter. He ultimately made 4. So now he's 4 ahead of Nick Van Axel with 12 games remaining. So that could easily go to the 30. He can make, I don't know, that's 3 to 4 threes a night. So that's another 36 to 48 threes over the next 12 games. Like, I would not be surprised if he ends up being like 40 plus threes ahead of Van Axel by the end of the season. But I just wanted to give D'Lo some acknowledgement and give him his flowers. As some know, like, I have been critical of him at times, going back to his performance in the Denver series and some of his shot selection in general and his defense. But he's been awesome this year. He's been awesome. And outside of that stretch in December where he had a rough few weeks, he's been arguably the Lakers' third best player for a majority of this season. And for me, I look at Austin's defense and Austin's pedigree in big games, looking at his performance in the Denver series, looking at his performance in the other series and his performance in the in-season tournament. And like, I lean Austin, but you can really make the case that it is D'Lo, and I can't really argue with it. And I just think, looking at his numbers, 18-6 this season, shooting 42% on threes, and entering this game was shooting 43% on catch and shoot threes, which was the 8th best mark in the NBA among players who had attempted at least 200 catch and shoot 3-pointers. So he's been the Lakers' best shooter this year. He's also been their best passer behind LeBron. He's been their 3rd best scorer behind LeBron and AD. So just a great season from D'Lo. I think he's exceeded all expectations, and has played for stretches been the Lakers' 2nd best player at times, and has turned out a really, really impressive season. And several games this year really just flipped the game on its head with those scoring flurries that he goes on. And when he heats up, he gets as hot as any Laker. I think LeBron is really the only guy that can match him from that perspective. But really, a D'Lo that's heating up is as hot as basically any player in the league. It's sort of Steph-esque. It really, no one is Steph, and Steph is in his own category. But it is kind of like that, where it just feels like he's going to make any shot he takes, and he could pull up from anywhere and hit it. And as we look ahead toward the play-in and the postseason, Lakers are going to need this version of D'Lo. The highs of this season have often come with D'Lo playing very well. There have been a few exceptions, but for the most part, he has played well in the Lakers' best wins. And for a group that has shot the ball really well over the last few months, but is still a low-volume 3-point shooting team, D'Lo's catch-and-shoot ability and ability to play off of LeBron and AD and Austin Reeves is a very valuable weapon for them offensively. And his ability to make defenses pay for playing off of those guys and helping on those guys really could be an X factor for LA's offense the rest of the way. And finally, takeaway number 3 is the Lakers are now in the driver's seat for the 9 seed, and it could flip at any moment. Every game matters the rest of the season. Every win, every loss for LA and Golden State can flip this. So this is a temporary snapshot of where things are at. But again, LA is 38-32. Golden State is 36-33. So LA has a 1.5 game advantage over Golden State. LA has 12 games left. Golden State has 13. And a quick look at Tankathon shows that the Lakers have Average strength of schedule remaining is 0.479, which is tied for the 13th easiest schedule. And Golden State's at 0.478. So 0.001 difference there. Basically tied in terms of strength of schedule difficulty. 11th easiest schedule for Golden State. But again, it's 0.001 difference there. So basically the same. So like from that perspective, LA has not an advantage, but it's basically tied. But when you look at Golden State has an extra game remaining and is 2 games back in the win column. So LA, has that advantage in terms of just they played more games. They've already amassed a couple more wins. And then looking at it, Golden State has 4 more home games, 9 more road games. LA has 3 more home games, 9 more road games. So from that perspective, Golden State has a slight advantage in terms of just more of their games are going to be at home than on the road. But of course, that leads us to the April 9th matchup and how critical that's going to be. Lakers' third to last game of the season. It's their final home game. After that, they close the season at Memphis and then at New Orleans. And then it's going to either be home versus Golden State or at Golden State, unless they could jump up into 8th, which is going to be tough based on Dallas and Phoenix continuing to tread water and stay in that range that they're currently in. But for the Lakers, I think home court advantage could be the difference in their matchup with Golden State. I don't think I'm going out on a limb and saying anything crazy there, but LA has played better in the home matchups. I think LA has had the better home court advantage in the recent home matchups. And historically, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson have not shot the ball well at Staples Center / Crypto.com Arena over the last, going back the last half decade or so. And so I think the Lakers, if they end up the 9th seed, I think they are going to win that matchup with the Warriors, barring an injury or a random event like someone fouling out, AD fouls out in like the third quarter, like some crazy like that, or something bizarre. Like the Warriors getting a 28-second offensive possession, or LeBron having a 3-pointer wiped away late in the fourth quarter, AD getting his eye poked out. Like Lakers should win that game. Now on the road, I think it gets a little trickier. There's just Lakers have not been a good road team. They have shown they can win at the Chase Center, but I think you are the underdog in that scenario. So this simply could determine whether the Lakers advance to the second stage of the play-in. And I think this is huge. So another big game for LA on Sunday against Indiana. That will wrap up this homestand that they've been on and then send them off on a big 6-game road trip that I will be previewing on episode 7 of Buha's block, going through each matchup, the season series with the teams, relevant injuries, relevant information. But that's a huge road trip, and the Lakers have to take every game, as cliche as it is, like one game at a time. And as long as they continue to win and stay ahead of Golden State, if they can land that 9 seed, I really like their odds of advancing to at least the second stage of the play-in, at which point it's either Sacramento, Phoenix, or Dallas. We know about Sacramento, and I thought we saw it tonight. Like Maxey, again, his speed he was a blur at times, just blowing by guys. And you see the same thing with Fox and Monk. So I don't love that matchup for the Lakers. I continue to be high on Phoenix, but maybe I'm delusionally high. Like, I don't know. I do think they played better against LA recently, and even some of their losses were close. So I think that would be a tough game for LA to go into Phoenix and win. And then Dallas, I'm a little bit higher on in terms of LA's odds there, just because of Dallas's interior deficiencies in terms of their rebounding, their paint defense, and just their ability to try and slow down Anthony Davis. They don't have a Nurkic. They don't have a Sabonis to really bother AD. And I think the Lakers have actually fared okay against Luka at times. Now, a big factor for LA would be, is Jared Vanderbilt back? Is he available for that matchup? If he's not, that is a big blow for their defense specifically in that matchup. But Dallas is also about 500 at home. They have been playing better. They had that big win against Denver. Kyrie had one of the most insane game winners of all time. But still, I don't know. I think LA would have at least a puncher's chance in that matchup to pull off the upset. So we were getting ahead of ourselves here, but I think a few days ago, it was looking like the Lakers were likely going to be the 10 seed. It is now flipped, And again, it could easily flip if LA loses to Indiana on Sunday, and then now all of a sudden they're tied with Golden State if Golden State wins their next game. But for now, LA looks to have the advantage given similar strengths of schedule, being a game ahead of them in the loss column, and then also having that April 9th game. So if LA can just keep at the same pace as Golden State, they're in a good position to, I think, win that matchup and then advance in the play-in. So that'll do it for tonight's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching on YouTube and for listening on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And if you've not checked it out yet, please check out episode 6 of Buha's Block with Chris Herring of ESPN. I promise if you like my content, you will like that interview. Chris and I are very similar in some ways, and I thought we had a great conversation. But that'll do it. Thank you again for watching and listening. I will talk to you soon.